Welcome back to Out of the Rough. I'm Fred Arnold, and I've got an expert when it comes to college planning, Brian Safdari. Brian Safdari is the founder of College Planning Experts. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks, Fred.
Well, tell us about what you do, because I have 2 kids graduating from college in the next 4 years, and I think I'm going to need your service.
Sounds good.
How did you get involved with college planning for people that want to go to college?
Well, it was my personal experience. I graduated from Chatsworth High School in 1999. Didn't know how the whole college process worked. I thought I'm going to get all kinds of financial aid. And after a career injury and not knowing how the financial aid system works, I ended up getting myself in over $50,000 in debt, not being able to go to my dream school. And because of my personal experience, I now have this passion on helping kids know the right things to do to get into their dream school and then help their parents fund for it without going broke.
So you specialize from your own experiences in helping people get into the college, helping them get financial aid and funding. Break that down.
Sure. Step 1 is knowing how to find the right colleges. I mean, that's so important because if you can't get into college, who cares about the funding for it? So that's why knowing how to properly position the students to get into college is big. Especially UCLA this year received over 60,000 applications. So, I mean, you can have a 4.0, doesn't mean anything anymore for UCLA.
Right.
So there's a lot of little things that need to be done on positioning the students to get in. So that's the whole piece, is finding the right schools, planning early to be able to get into your top choice schools when the senior year time comes. So that's pillar number 1, finding the right schools and getting in. Pillar number 2 is how do you properly receive financial aid regardless of your income or your assets. The biggest myth I get in this whole process is, Brian, I make too much money, I won't qualify for financial aid. Or I have
my
too much.
parents make too much money.
They have too much money, or I have too much equity in my house, or I have assets sitting around, I won't qualify. But that's not true. Every income level families, regardless of their assets, they can get financial aid at the right schools. So that's pillar number 2, knowing how to position your finances so that way you can qualify for financial aid. So that's
or you can maximize the opportunity to get into financial aid, because it's kind of like healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
Education is just going up.
Exactly.
The cost is going up. And the only equalizer, if we only have so much money, is to raise the price.
Oh, yeah. I mean, every year. I mean, real estate goes up and down. Stocks go up and down. College since 1981 has never gone down. And every year, it's averaging 10 to 12% increase on tuition hikes every single year.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when my dad could just write work hard, save some money, write a simple check, and be done with it at Cal State Northridge. Those were the good old days. In fact, the books were more expensive than the actual tuition.
That's true.
Yes,
so that's pillar number 2.
Right.
And then the third part is, I say every family is going to have a cost for college. There's no way out of that, but we can shrink that cost down by knowing how to get financial aid regardless of income or assets. The funding part, I think, is the most crucial. How do you financially plan this if you have multiple kids going to school, so that way you can fund for college without jeopardizing your retirement?
Now, something I learned from my nephew was going to the University of Pennsylvania on the East Coast, and my niece was going to University of Pacific, Azusa Pacific. And my sister was paying a lot of money to APU, and the East Coast school noticed that and said, okay, well, we'll give you more financial aid. So they kind of look at what you're paying out in totality, but not every school does that, correct?
Oh, yeah, but the one misconception is if you have 2 kids going to college at the same time, the parents think that you have to pay double that cost. But there's a formula in the Higher Education Act that says if you have 2 kids in college, you actually pay half of what the government's going to ask you to pay for. And there's this magic number that every family needs to know. It's your expected family contribution.
Expected family contribution.
And that's the number that you get once you submit your financial aid form. It's kind of like taxes. You put money in a 401k, you're not paying taxes today, you're paying taxes later. Same type of strategies apply in the financial aid forms on how to reposition assets so that way it doesn't get viewed in at a higher scale, which generates this EFC. The lower your EFC, which is your expected family contribution, the more money you're going to get. It's not just the income. So that's why if you have a $20,000 EFC and you have 2 kids going into school, that means the family can afford 20, not each student. So that 20,000 gets split in half, 10 and 10. That's the example that you're talking about with 2 in school.
So let's talk about ways people fund. You have working your way through college. You have mom and dad paying or saving through a savings plan or their own savings. And then you have federal and state aid, and then you have grants. Tell me the breakdown of those items.
Sure. So you have your money or other people's money is kind of how I break it down to. Others people's money falls into tax scholarships, how to pay college on a tax favor basis, which some families will, they'll maybe use a home equity line or they'll do a mortgage because then it's tax deductible, obviously to a certain amount. You got to obviously consult with your CPA on that, but there are certain rules that may apply, which is tax scholarships. Other people's money is also the state, the federal government, the institution.
So state, federal government, the institution.
The institution, which is the colleges directly. Believe it or not, you can send your child to a private school cheaper than a state school.
Because of the endowments.
Exactly. I mean, they have raised over $50 to $70 billion in endowment in 2008 and 2009. This is during our so-called recession. Colleges raised more money in endowments from private firms that they give back to students coming, but most parents look at that cost of attendance, which is that big number that's posted on fancy brochures that says it's going to cost you $50,000 to come to USC. But what the parents don't know is that you get a lot of that funded, which means your net cost comes out actually cheaper than a state school.
Especially with the private schools, absolutely. Last question, and what is the best time for a family to start planning all of this? You know, of course, when the child's born, you start putting money away, but really when it gets down to it, when is it too late, or is it never too late, and when should you really start planning?
Well, the financial aid process repeats itself every single year. I have families go to my workshops that are already in college and they didn't get any money, and once they know the formulas, they can redo the financial aid form.
So you could be in school and look forward to next year.
Yeah, so if you're in school, you want to take it, you want to start immediately and know what's affecting your EFC, why you didn't receive financial aid if you're not getting it. Even if you are, what do you need to do to get more aid for the following year? So the financial aid process repeats itself every single year. So the key is it's never too late. The best time to get started, in my opinion, is 7th and 8th grade. Because when you start 9th grade, if you know how to position the students starting in 9th grade, you can maximize the student getting in and qualifying for the most amount of money because you get institutional merit aid from the school, you get merit-based money based off your GPA, SAT scores, and how you do academically during your 9th through senior year, and you get need-based aid, which is the formula that I was just talking about, which is the EFC. So there's a specific so there's a specific formula that maximizes need. So those are the three big pieces.
And what I'm excited about is knowing that my children are going to be going through soon with this, is we have you as a resource in this community.
Sure.
How do those that are watching the show or seeing this on a webcast, how do they get a hold of you, Brian?
Best way is go to our website at www.collegeplanningexperts.com. And they can register.
Repeat that one more time.
Sure. www.collegeplanningexperts.com. And go on our website. We have free workshops for the community. We teach 90 minutes of jam-packed, cool, easy things families can do that they've never heard of on how to take control over this process. And then from there, we take a look at the family's situation to see how we can help them out.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on the show and sharing this with those that are watching.
Great. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Out of the Rough. I'm Fred Arnold. If you'd like to view this show online, go to scvtv.com or fredarnold.com. If you have any questions for myself, go ahead and email me at fred@fredarnold.com. Until next time, make it a healthy and prosperous day, and I hope this show helps get you and your business out of the rough.